The Manuka oil is much more powerful. It's like 1,000 times more antibacterial than Manuka honey. A big part is that they jump straight into wanting to execute. I could use business to help reforest the country. They think about efficiency before effectiveness.
Welcome back to Inspired by Success. I'm your host, Linda Vo. Imagine scaling a business by 500% in just 1 year, launching a product that uses natural ingredients from New Zealand and transforming the way companies market themselves, all while making a positive impact on the planet. That's exactly what our guest has done. Callum Armstrong has built and sold multiple successful businesses, and now he's helping companies revolutionize their content marketing while championing environmental conservation through podcasting and storytelling. As a social entrepreneur and B2B marketing coach, he's proven that profit and purpose can thrive together. And today, he's sharing exactly how he does it. Whether you're looking to scale your business, make an impact, or just learn how to stand out in a crowded market, you won't want to miss this conversation. Please welcome to the show, Callum Armstrong.
Hey, Linda, thanks. That's a very endearing introduction. I'm wondering how I can top that. So thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
No worries. We'll find out. So tell me, what inspired you to blend business and environmental conservation? Was there a specific moment that made you think, I can make money and help the planet at the same time?
Yeah, so growing up, I was so into nature. I was a scout. I just was curious about everything. Sometimes my teachers got really annoyed at that, but I wanted to be a marine biologist of all things, but I fell into the world of business and marketing. That was where my family was at. But throughout that time, I really just, there was something inside me that wanted to help nature. When I finished my marketing degree, I had a job driving around the country, around New Zealand, selling floor coverings, and I was doing really crazy amounts of kilometers. And for the first year, I thought our farmland was nature, and then I realized after a while that all used to be native forest. Anyway, that company sold. I did a bit of an OE, backpacking around Asia, as you do as a young 20-something, and I discovered this plant called Manuka. You might have heard of Manuka honey. Well, I discovered this oil from the native plant, and what it do in skincare and various other applications. It was really powerful, and the role that Manuka played in reforesting the land. And really, that's when it dawned on me that I could use business to help reforest the country and to bring native forest back. The mission has evolved quite a lot in the last 6 or so years, and I'd love to talk about that. But yeah, that's essentially what got me into it. Was my heart's in the environmental space, my skill set and history is in the commercial space, and bringing them together it's fun, right?
Wow. So let's talk about that Manuka Essentials, because that's a unique concept. Because when I think of Manuka, I think of honey as well. How did you turn a local plant into a product that customers were eager to actually buy?
So they weren't eager to buy it at the start, to be honest. I found out about this oil. Just for context, the honey, Manuka honey, comes from the nectar within the flowers, and bees chew that up and they turn it into this honey that has methoxyl, which is the main active component in it. But Manuka oil comes from a different part of the plant. Manuka oil is steam distilled from the leaves of the plant. So essential oils are within the plant's leaves, and it provides certain uses within the plant's life, and you put steam through it, which pops the cell walls, and you cool that down and the oil floats to the top. So the Manuka oil is much more powerful. It's like 1,000 times more antibacterial than Manuka honey. I read somewhere it's like 30 times more antibacterial than tea tree oil. It's crazy what it does. It kills MRSA, herpes type 1 and 2, like really powerful benefits. So I came back to New Zealand after that backpacking tour, and started this company, Manuka Essentials. I bought some bottles of this 10 ml Manuka oil that were really expensive, and they had like 100 plus uses. And I was going to local markets and saying, hey, you want to buy this oil that can do all these things? And people didn't trust me. They thought, well, someone said to me, oh, you're a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
So I thought, yeah. And it was a bit sad because I was like, I've done the research. This is really good, but people just want to be told how to use it. So I made this beard oil to start off with, hence having a beard kind of built out of that. And I made 70 different iterations over 12 months before I was happy with the finished product. And I'm pretty sure that it's one of the best, if not the best, beard oils on the market. I made a shave oil and a skin oil for men. And then I found out that women spend a lot more money on skincare. So then we made a range of women's products. We had, what we discovered was that men just want something that's good. They don't want to think too much about their skincare choices. It's like, give me something that's good, tell me where to buy it, tell me how to use it, and I'll just get into a habit. And women are like, hey, I want something that fits my specific needs. So the skin oil range for women had for dry skin, oily skin, normal skin, combination skin, acne prone skin, and mature skin, and slightly different branding. But yeah, that's essentially how we got into it. It was out of necessity to make products because people didn't want to figure it out themselves or blend their own stuff. So we said, let's just make a brand and make products.
Wow. And then you ended up selling the business. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm condensing years of intensive work into a few minutes of conversation here. So I am skimming over some of the facts. Essentially, I got in this business to create demand for native plant extracts. Manuka is one of the first plants that brings native forest back to the country. It creates a canopy cover, it prevents erosion, cleans waterways, creates a safe space for other native plants that are more vulnerable to grow, creates habitat for birds to bring seed source, shades out weeds, etc. Lots of really good things. And so the idea was that if we made it more profitable for landowners to plant native forest on their land than any other type of farming, we would see reforestation. And that was cool when I had just a pure Manuka oil and I could sell liters of the oil. But by the time I had finished products, it was such a small percentage of the actual finished product was Manuka oil. I'd have to sell so many bottles to make even a small dent on our environment. And it was becoming more of a consumer product brand company. And in my personal life, I'm not much of a skincare person. I put soap on and, obviously the basics, but I'm not obsessed with skincare. And so I felt like I could do better things with my time. The other reason why I sold it, so when the lockdowns hit, it was deemed non-essential. Revenue went to zero. Obviously, it bounced back when we opened up. But I was doing content writing at that time. I was using basically contracting, freelancing to pay my way while I built this business. And I'd got some good results for clients doing content marketing, and a couple of clients asked me to basically build an agency and take over all their business. And Manuka Essentials was making nothing at that point, and they were offering these big lucrative contracts. So I started the agency, and I actually my partner and I built this charity, the Reforestation Fund, out of basically separating selling skincare from giving to help nature. And yeah, things evolved from there, but yeah.
Wow, that's very inspiring, because sometimes we're not passionate about our business, but then you evolved and found another solution. It's easier to scale too in terms of content marketing. So I want to talk about that for the entrepreneur audience and the business owners that want to help their business grow with content marketing. So what's the biggest common mistake you see companies make with their content marketing strategy, and how do they avoid mistakes? Because nowadays there's so much content out there too.
The biggest mistake businesses make for their content marketing. Ooh, I've got to think on that one. I think to really set the context, what do you think of as content marketing?
For me, I think knowing your target audience and then just create valuable content that resonates with them in order to get them to take action on your desired goal. So that's just the way I see content marketing. And so you got to be constantly, having a voice, building your brand, and just putting things out there that resonate on a daily basis. That's the way I see content marketing. And there's just so many different forms of it too. So there's video, podcasting, social media. There's just so many different options out there, and we're in a cluttered market where we're fighting for everybody's attention. Attention is the gold. So, there's just so many different aspects of it. And that's the way I see it. How do you stand out in a world that is so saturated with content out there? And now, given that AI is there and it's so easy to create content, how does one stand out? And you know what, with AI as well, some business owners, what I think is when they make content, and just say LinkedIn users put out a post, you can tell which ones are using AI because they're not putting it like a lot of thought. Like these days, everything sounds the same with content marketing. Sometimes if they're just using ChatGPT and they're not refining it and making it in their voice, it is just so obvious. And so that's the way I see the future going with content marketing. That's my personal input of it.
100%. It's like there's so many things I want to pick up on in what you said, but just coming back to the mistakes people make, I think it is just not understanding the context of what content marketing is and how it fits in. So people, like, no matter what we buy, we go through a series of stages. We're unaware that we have a problem, then we become aware that we've got a problem. We become aware of solutions and we start searching for different solutions and vetting whether that's the right solution for us. And then we are ready to buy, we purchase, then we either stick around and stay with that business or supplier, or we just leave, or we get upset and tell everyone how bad the reviews are. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's...
The funnel. I forgot about the funnel, yes.
Yeah.
Is that when you mention that, I'm thinking of the funnel straight away.
Well, I guess the funnel, yeah. I think of the funnel as what we as a business or a marketer put in place to capture someone on their buying journey. But regardless of whether you have a funnel or not, that person's still going to solve their problem somehow, whether it's from you or someone else. So I like to think of marketing. I know this is a really roundabout answer to the common mistakes, but I feel like it's important to set the context of how it fits in. Do you mind if I just go into a little bit of detail on this? And
go for it.
Cool. So a really good way of thinking about marketing, and especially content marketing and the funnel and the customer's buying journey, etc., is to think about fishing. So hear me out, because this really simplifies it. If you want to go fishing, there's 4 stages. Firstly, you need to know what fish you're going to catch. Where does that fish swim? What does it eat? When's it hungry? What does it feed on? When's its breeding season, etc.? That gives you an understanding. This is like researching your ideal customer. What are their pain points? What are their problems? What are their objections, the alternatives? What is the solution? What is the desired outcome? What's possible when they buy your solution that wasn't possible before, etc.? The second stage is with fishing. You've got to get the right equipment, whether that's a net that you're casting, whether that's a fishing rod or a lure or bait or burley, whatever that looks like. This is your funnel. This is, you've decided that you understand who your customer is and why they're buying from you. You've set up, this is like setting up your messaging, communicating to their needs and pain points, what actually matters to them. It's about putting that onto your website, whether you're running ads or blogs or a lead magnet or emails. It's setting up your email system, developing that lead magnet, basically creating that funnel, that net that catches people. So the third stage is, now that you know what you're fishing for and you've got the fishing rod to catch it and the bait, you've got to go out and try it. So this is getting out and producing the content, so testing it. The problem that a lot of businesses make is that once they think they know what their customers want, they just keep pumping that away, and they maybe try and make it efficient from there by getting ChatGPT to do it or something. And the thing that most businesses miss is the 4th stage in fishing, which is, you don't just put your rod in the water and say, I'll just do that for the rest of my life. You test different things, you try different lures, you try different times, you talk to other fishermen, you see what works for them. And so if we look at this from a business perspective, first you understand your ideal customers, then you build your funnel, you build your assets, you build your way of capturing them. Then you test your assumptions, you try things out, you see what works, you double down on what works, you test new things, and you cut what doesn't work, and you improve, which is the 4th stage. So with that in mind, where do companies go wrong? Big part is that they jump straight into wanting to execute. They create content and produce it. They think about efficiency before effectiveness. So they go out and they say, instead of spending 8 hours on a blog, I can ask from ChatGPT and get that blog out there in 15 minutes. But they don't ask, does our customer need to know about this? Is this quality? Does it add value to their time, etc.? The second thing I see is businesses going ahead and jumping for the sale on every moment. Like, there's this ad from a marketing agency in New Zealand running at the moment, and he goes out and he's like, gets on down on one knee and pulls out a ring and says to this woman, "Will you marry me?" Then she slaps him and says, "No, you idiot, this is our first date." And too many businesses do this. They want to try and get the sale when you're not even thinking about buying. So understand that stage, going from problem unaware to ready to buy the solution. Understand the stage they're at. talk to that, solve their problem where they're at. And like 1 to 3% of your audience is ready to buy now. If they're ready to buy, great. But if they're not, then appeal to that area. I could go into tons of detail, and this could be like a 6-hour podcast if we wanted to talk on every tip. But I think those are the main things. And then once you've got your funnel set up, once you've got it going, you've got it working, you're talking to different stages of the buying journey, you're moving people through. A really common one I see is if they're not asking for the sale too much, they forget to ask for the sale. And they feel like content is just about educating, and it's sleazy to ask someone to do business with you. And in that case, I'm like, well, you've got their attention. You've solved problems for your audience. You can see in your analytics data that you're getting this many visitors and they're coming through, they're signing up. Tell them that you can do business with them. Like, they're not mind readers, tell them how you can solve their problems, because like the thing is, people's attention is the asset. It's like, if we think about oil of yesterday or gold in the past, like attention is the commodity, I firmly believe, of today. And if you've earned someone's attention, then you have a responsibility to respect that attention, but that you also, with that responsibility comes offering to solve their problems, and that can be by them paying you. But don't be sleazy about it, I guess. So that's a long answer to the question, but I think it's important to set the context of what content is. Oh, I forgot to mention. So content is like the assets and the media and the stuff you put at each stage of that journey to capture their attention. And it's important to understand the journey and just think about, like, just because we've got a screen separating us doesn't mean that this is any different to having a relationship if we were talking face to face. Wow,
that's very, very valuable tips there. I want to unpack it a bit, because there's just a lot that I wanted to ask and dig into. So in terms of the socials, okay, these days a lot of people are posting on socials. It's hard to cut through. Like you said, attention is the digital, like the commodity. It's like gold. So sometimes as brand owners or business owners, it can take a bit longer, especially if we're doing a content marketing strategy. So it might take a while to show results. How do you keep people engaged, your clients engaged and motivated while they're waiting for the strategy to pay off? Because for me, for example, when I'm doing my social media, because I offer coaching as well to help people start up with their vending machine business. And so I feel like sometimes it's a bit of a slog that I have to post daily, but you have to. And I don't want to feel like I'm spamming people's Facebook pages as well. I've got my own, but there's got to be a balance between how much value. I try to add as much value as well. And you mentioned like educating people, but also asking for the sale as well. But you can't do that on people's pages. So, how long, it's a slow process, but how do you keep people engaged and let them know that the strategy is going to pay off?
Got to be quite transparent here and say that my strongest suit is not social media content. I do it. I haven't got as good results as I'd like to, and certainly not as good as results as I've got in other areas. But I think, like, how do you keep people involved and encouraged during the slog? I think there's a few things. One is just client education, understanding the context of what we're doing. I think that's a two-way street. And there's responsibilities as the service provider, whether that's a contractor or a coach. And there's responsibilities of the client to actually be willing to understand and adapt their behavior. So a lot of clients confuse marketing and sales. They think that you post on Instagram and then that just gets a customer. So they treat every post as a sales pitch. And that's on to actually understand it. But if you as the service provider aren't educating your client, then that's a problem. I think it's important to know when to do your social media. So it's fine to do some posts here and there, but if you're going to invest heavily, especially if you're going to hire contractors or you're going to put money and time, significant time into it, you've got to know if you're actually doing it at the right time. Look, it depends on the industry. I typically focus on higher ticket, sort of B2B. But if you're in that situation, and this might not apply to some people in your audience, but if you're in that situation where you actually need the money from the next sale to pay the rent or to pay your staff, and you're not at capacity and you're struggling, just go out and do some selling, network, do a better job for your customers and ask for referrals. Like, just don't put all your eggs into that basket. Like social media, SEO, paid ads, influencer marketing, collaboration, all these tools, they work. They all work, but they take time and they take investment. And if you are so reliant on that investment paying off ASAP, like you're not going into it with the right attitude. But also, if you're a service provider and you ask for the sale, knowing that your customer's in that space and you don't educate them about the potential downsides, I don't think you're being a good, not you, but, you know, I don't think that's good service, and I don't think that's professional. So I think there's a little bit of education and just understanding what the role of social media is. And really that does vary by platform. For example, LinkedIn is snooping and lurking. When I post on LinkedIn, I'm not really posting to get a sale. I'm posting to build my professional profile and my networks, and it's actually those meetings that come off it. It's that, like, here's a great example. There was a lady on LinkedIn and I was posting and she engaged with some of my content. I loved her content. And so I reached out to her and said, look, I really like your content. I like what you're about. And I'd just love to get on a call and just yarn. Can I help you? How can I help your business? And then it turned out that we really got along well, but there was nothing we could do to help each other at that point. I said, I think she said, well, do you need an email marketer? And there was this expert that I really rate. And so I said, actually, I do. One of my clients needs that. So she connected us. I met with that person that he met. I put him onto my client. He got a client out of that network that was built from LinkedIn. Now he's referring me customers. But it wasn't from me going online and saying, buy from me. I mean, if, you know, maybe you're better at this than me, and you probably are from the sounds of, you know, I think it really depends on your audience, why your audience is showing up, and the purpose of it and your strategy. And that's obviously different to paid ads and interrupting people, and that's different to SEO and Google content versus lead magnets, email, etc.
Yeah, no, I totally understand it. I agree with the social media. You definitely have to educate, and there's multiple different touch points. I think you just got to add as much value, and storytelling is powerful as well. So I think when people can resonate with authenticity and storytelling, that can be pretty successful as well. But I wanted to ask you, what channel have you found the most success in terms of your content marketing strategy with your B2B clients? Like, because there's so many different channels. We've got email, but it's not good to also put your eggs all in one basket. So for example, this morning I woke up and I got an email from YouTube saying that my channel has been removed. And I'm like, what? All this work. So I was like, oh my gosh, I was freaking out. And I was so panicked because we worked so hard to build it, and we educate, and we uploaded so many different videos, and then, yeah, I've had a team around it. And so to have that like removed like that out of nowhere, and then thank God we prayed and prayed, and we got it back within half an hour. So I don't know what happened there, but luckily I don't rely on the one platform, and I have social media. I haven't invested in email marketing yet for the podcast, but my question is, you know, what's like is the most impactful channel for you that you've seen a lot of success in and growth?
I've got to say that's scary with YouTube, and any platform can do that. I've seen this happen with Facebook and Instagram quite a few times. The other day I got a message.
Yeah, I've heard too.
My content was removed, and if you do this again, we're kicking you off. And I was like, I don't even know what I did wrong. Like, I can't even see
exactly
what I rule. It's just algorithms over people. I don't like it. Hopefully YouTube doesn't hear that. Yeah. Most profitable platform. So I believe that you've got to own your audience. I firmly believe that. Mm-hmm. Typically that's owning an email list that people have voluntarily opted into. As far as return on investment for time that's gone into the effort, it's email hands down. You know, I've had client emails where one email probably makes 20, 30, 50 times ROI, probably more now. But that's because we've invested in building, they've been running ads that have got sales, and those are customers on that list. We've been running content that's got, you know, blogs have got tens of thousands of visitors a month to their website, which have purchased and they have built trust. And then we've sent them regular emails, education and offers for years that have nurtured them. So and then we've built templates in the newsletter, and then it might only be an hour or 2 hours to write an amazing newsletter but to say that return on investment has come because of email would be only half of the truth, because a lot of that return came from the years of hard work behind the scenes. As far as, you know, you've got to capture people, you've got to gain their awareness, you've got to gain their trust, and you've got to gain their to take action. And email is really good for that. You've gained their awareness and trust, and now you want to get them across the line. But if I look at what is building their awareness, blogging, and particularly blogging optimized for search engines, has done really well. I've got multiple different clients where we've like 10x to 15x their traffic, and they've started at 2,500 visitors a month, and we've got them up to 20,000-30,000 a month over a period of a few years, of course. But that's the good thing about SEO, is that you can see the keywords you're targeting, you can see what else is ranking for that page, you can see the gaps in the competitors' content, you can make yours better, you can understand the intention behind why someone is searching for it, and then you can laser point why someone's searching it, if they're likely to buy or where they're at, how much competition there is, how much volume there is. It's very much a numbers game that's combined with the creative of content. So that's good for attracting people, but it's quite slow to convert. Obviously, paid ads are good, but there's a high cost to start. But then I think, so if we look at what you mentioned, email is great for getting people across the line. Blogging is great as far as organic content. If you're not putting paid ads behind it, is great at the top. If you're putting paid ads behind it, a good quality lead magnet that solves a key problem and pain point on the buying journey is really good. But then in the middle of the funnel, it has to be case studies and customer stories. If you're an e-commerce business and it's a lower ticket item, this can be testimonials or user generated customer videos and reviews. But for higher ticket things that I've typically worked with, telling a case study, or even telling the story of a customer and how they solved their problem, and then they're the hero of the journey, but it just happened to be that was buying our service or product. That's really effective. So I guess to summarize and to zoom out, I've found the most success if it's not using paid ads, using blogging optimized for search engines. If it's using paid ads, it's typically been through lead magnets that solve a really key pain point in the customer's journey, that warms them up and shows them why our solution's right. To build the trust is showing how other happy customers have got results that they want to get through working with us. And then to convert them is like just nurturing and building that trust on the email list, and then asking for the sale once they trust us.
I love it. You've broken it down, answered my question that I was going to ask as well, because just say someone was new to the business and didn't know where to start, because there's so many different platforms out there as well. And like you said, ads are super, super expensive these days too. So you've got to cut through organically somehow as well. But let's take it back. And in terms of the research and the tools, what tools do you recommend for people to get started, especially if they haven't built their email list yet and they don't know where to start and they don't want to spend as much money yet, like you said, organically, because people can write blogs as well using AI, and I think Google penalizes that as well. So you can use tools to not be so AI. But, are there certain research tools you use before you even start all the funnel and these steps?
I can point to specific tools, but we're looking at chapter 6, and I think we're going to go back to chapter 1 if you're getting started. Chapter 1 is knowing your customers, and it's also knowing where you're at. Like, the recommendations I would give one business are going to be different to the recommendations for the next. Do you have a list of customers? How long have you been running? Are you a brand new startup, or do you have 100 plus customers on an email list that are happy with you? Are you a one-man band, or do you have 30 staff and you just haven't got around to making a website yet for whatever reason? Do you have money to throw at it, or do you have time, or do you have neither? And this is just a dumb pursuit at this stage. So that really depends. Typically, I would start with understanding your customers. So understanding what are their pain points and the consequences of not solving those pain points. What are the triggers that lead to them thinking about your solution? What are the alternatives, the competitors? What are the benefits of working for you and the downsides of your competitors, the benefits of your competitors and downsides of working for you? What is the objections to buying from you? What are the perceived and real objections? What is the experience of working with you? What are the outcomes? What's possible now? How do they talk? How do you talk to them? What is your solution? How do you communicate that solution? Are you communicating to the things that they actually value, or the things that you think that they value? Are you telling your story in a way that builds trust? Or are you just saying XYZ company was acquired by John Doe on, boring. So these things you need to start off with. And I've got a free resource, which I'm happy to share with your audience if you like. It's called the Customer Interview Toolkit. It's just a Google document. I really should ask for your email address to get it, but I'm like a builder with a half-finished house, so I'll just give you the link and you can use it and make a copy. It's got everything you need. It's got like 20 plus different templated questions you can adapt, tips for preparing for your interview. But what I say is interview your customers. Talk to them. Ask if this is actually even who you want to serve. Look at your offer. And so I know this doesn't answer the question of which tools, and I can give you SEO tools, I can give you AI tools, I can give you all these technical things, but people jump to the technical stuff, they jump to the next hack, the latest app, but they don't actually ask what is the relationship and what is the problem we're solving. And if you're not solving a core painful problem that's going to build a lasting relationship, then do you run a business, or are you just trying to make the next sale with drop shipping or something, right?
Yeah, no, that's powerful. Now, you've created the Improve Your Business newsletter. What's the most powerful, actionable tip that you can share that will make a difference with our audience as well? Because newsletters, for me personally, I get so many different emails and newsletters as well. And I've had to unsubscribe from a lot as well. But what's worked for you? Any tips that you can share?
So I have actually pulled back from the newsletter just as again, transparency, just to focus on my charity, Conservation Amplified, in our podcast. But I did the first 30 episodes, and obviously that's not the first newsletter I've built. So tips I can share. The first one is respect your audience's time. Go and make it short, make it snappy, give people what they want. Tell them up front what they're going to get. Don't bury the hatchet in the bottom. Yeah, ask for the sale, but a newsletter isn't a place to do a hard sales pitch. So keep it soft. Make sure that you're actually arriving in people's inboxes. Depends on the app you're using to send the newsletters out, but it's a good idea to verify, authenticate your newsletter, getting SPF and DKIM records on the back end, which is quite technical, but basically it's just showing that you're a legitimate provider so that it doesn't go to spam or promotions tab. If people, you can set up a sunset sequence, so if people don't open anything for 6 months, you send them a couple of emails saying, hey, do you still want this, and remove them from the list, because if most of your list doesn't open it, people start sending it to junk. The people that want to read it it's going to reduce your sender score, and that's going to put it to junk. But also think about your audience. Remember, 1,000 subscribers is not just 1,000 subscribers. It's not a commodity. Who are they? What are their relationship with you? If you send them value every week for 3 years and it's the value they want, and they open it and click through and stuff, that's a completely different 1,000 people to 1,000 people you scraped off a list you didn't contact for a year, and then you sent them an email asking for the sale. So it's very qualitative. So think about it as a relationship to nurture. And then just the last note I would say about getting the most out of email newsletters is this notion of content repurposing. A guy called Justin Welsh, online business expert, he's got some really, really good guidance on this on his newsletters and even in his course. But essentially, if you're going to go to that effort of creating a newsletter, turn that into social posts. If you're going to make blogs and go on podcasts like we are today, put that into your newsletter. If you're going to make a video or a YouTube doco, promote it with your newsletter, turn it into reels and shorts and social posts. If you're going to put the effort into making content, you want to do it right. If you want to do it right, it does take significant amounts of work, skill, and effort, and quite often cost. And if you're going to put that effort in, you may as well get the most mileage and reuse it where you can. And also, if you're a customer or a potential customer and you see a really interesting post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Insta or whatever channel you're on, and then you click onto the website and it's the same stuff, but it goes deeper, and then you subscribe to the newsletter and you get even deeper info on the same topic, that's a great journey. If you go to the effort of creating all this content and you create different content for your newsletter, your YouTube, your blog, and your socials, it's going to take a lot more work. But also, when that person clicks on your website and they see something different and they feel like they've been bait and switched, it's not a good experience. It costs more and it's crap. So yeah, I think just make your life easy and reuse your content where you can, and just think of the newsletter as like the depth, like the funnel, the depth of the hole that they're going down, and you can leave breadcrumbs to get them into that.
So you recommend just diversifying that content, but also changing it up a bit as well, so it's not, you said bait and switch. Can you elaborate on that? Is that if you're a consumer and you're going to different platforms and you're seeing the same thing, obviously you're not going to be, that's not going to be valuable. So, switching it up in different forms and changing it. Is that what you meant? Can you explain what you meant by bait and switch?
Yeah, I'm throwing acronyms and keywords and jargon out there without explaining it. That's what us marketers do, right? We make it sound complex, but we get paid. I'm just joking, but there is some truth in that. So all you marketers out there, no, just jokes. So let's just make an example business. It's probably better to explain it with an example. Can you give me an example of a business and I can explain?
An e-commerce business that's selling hair care products to make your hair grow longer.
Okay, so let's say I've got a real struggle growing my hair, and I'm searching, or I'm scrolling through Instagram, and the algorithm knows that I really want to grow my hair. And I see a post that's 3 ways to, it's like a carousel that says, here's 5 ways to make your hair grow longer, and there's some plant extract, and then there's some like synthetic chemical, and then there's some treatment of like how you put some silk mat on your head so that you don't lose your, silk pillow so you don't lose your hair and when you're sleeping. I'm just making this up. I don't know if that's true or not. And you're like, this is cool.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, go to the link in our bio to get the full list of like 20 different ways to grow your hair, just for example. I'm not sure I do that piece of content, but anyway, they click on that, your bio, they click on the link, they land on your blog, and it says, here's 20 ways to make your hair grow faster. And then you're like, oh, this is like really cool. I'm going to try these tips out. In the blog, I mean, I'd probably just say go buy my products, but let's just imagine we want to get them onto a newsletter, for example. I might in the blog say, come to the hair growth warriors community. That's it. I wouldn't call it that. That's a terrible name for a newsletter. But anyway, let's just call it the hair growth warriors community, and that's like join our mailing list. And every Saturday morning, we're gonna share blogs and tips and ways of doing this with you. And so I'm like, I'm in for this. And then when I sign up, they say, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's a bonus resource, whether that's a discount on our products or a guide to like, caring for your hair and softening it so that, you've got the best conditions for growth. And I'm like, well, and then I go in there, and then each week there's newsletters, content that's relevant. And maybe next week it might be top 10 products to grow your hair faster. And then I see on their Instagram that they're featuring each product with a breakdown and someone talking about it. And then the blogs are top 10 products, and then the newsletters maybe sharing a testimonial from customers and saying, read our blog on that topic, right? So then if I think about that from the customer's perspective, I've just been distracted on my Instagram by this post that's actually solving a problem I need. I've thought, oh, wow, they're actually giving more value going to the website. So I've clicked on their website and I've started reading the blog, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's a community of people that have the problem that I've got. I thought I was alone. I'll join that community. And then I join the community, and they say, oh, here's another free resource or maybe a discount or whatever. There's some value that we've given you that's still along the lines of what you need. And then the next week I get that. I'm not going to be annoyed that the newsletter and the blog are sharing the same stuff as the socials, because the newsletter and the blog are going to share different angles or different perspectives on that problem or that solution. Now, that's what I would call good. But if, let's say, I saw that three different tips to making your hair grow faster on Instagram, and then they said, learn more in our blog, link in bio. And I landed on the blog, and it was like best skincare products of 2024. And I was like, oh, this isn't what I came here for, but whatever, I'll sign up to the email. And then let's say I sign up to the email, and it's like hairdryer reviews. I'm like, get out of here. You've just lied to me. You've baited and switched. Like, you've promised me that I'm going to learn about how to grow my hair, and now you're selling me skincare and hairdryers. Like, get out of here.
Yes, it's kind of like deceiving, kind of deceptive marketing type of thing.
But then, like, you've done all that work to get in the mindset and create the content on growing your hair, skincare, and hairdryers. If you were to just create content on how to make your hair grow faster with these 10 or 20 tips, you've got your half a dozen social posts, you've got your blog, you've got your newsletter, and it's all while you've done that in the same mindset and the same content production project. So it's a lot less work, it's better quality, and the customer gets a better experience.
Wow, that was very, very intricate. I like that, and gave me a lot of tips and ideas too, guys. If you're finding these value bombs very insightful, please do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and hit follow if you're listening on podcast. In terms of balancing profit and purpose, how do you balance the demands of running a profitable business, but you also have a desire to make a social impact? Have you got any strategies to do both? So
we started a charity to separate out the giving from the making money. I'd love to talk about that charity, and I think it's relevant to content marketing. But the way I did it was I said, so I've done a different range of different things over the years. When I started Manuka Essentials, the balancing act was essentially I create demand for native plants, which is my for conservation, which is my purpose, and that's built into the product. That's one way of doing it. And if you do that, it can be really powerful, because as you grow your business, you grow your impact. But you've just got to be careful when a conflict of interest arises that puts your profit over your purpose. The second way would be to separate it out. So we started a charity saying our business sells skincare for money. Each product we sell donates to the charity. And then that charity funds communities to plant native forests and look after their whenua, their land, their patch. So that's another way. We rebranded that charity to Conservation Amplified, which, like I said, I'll get into in a moment. The other way is to just set aside some of your money and provide your services. So you don't have to give money, you can give your skills of what your strength is. When we started Paste and Publish, I didn't actually want a marketing agency because I wanted to give my time to helping nature. So one of my conditions was 5% of everything customers spend, we're going to put into a separate bank suffix. And then we're going to pay our team their normal wages to do free marketing services for environmental groups. And the idea behind that was community environmental projects where people are volunteering can't afford the rates that us marketers charge. Mostly volunteers, they can't even afford staff half the time. So we'll just pay our staff, like, it's not fair to expect them to work for nothing for my purpose, right? So I was like, well, I'll just pay them to do the job. So you can just set aside some money and pay your staff. That could be like a corporate planting workday, or, I mean, it might be a different purpose for you. It might be a mental health thing, or it might be, many other things that we have in social purposes. Or the other option is, like, we have a podcast, the People Helping Nature podcast. I have an assistant, and she uses a lot of her paid time that we pay her for out of the business profits to do work for the charity. When the charity needs money for overhead, I just pay for it out of my business, and the gains that I've made are above and beyond my wage. So those are a few ways. But I'd also like to note a business that I came across just last week. That's another way of doing it, which I really like. It's called Carbon Invoice. And if you're like, how do I offset my carbon? How do I help nature? And it just all sounds too hard and I'm a small business. This will, like, in a few clicks, you answer a couple questions with drop downs, like how many employees, what's your industry, where do you live? And then you connect it to your Xero or your accounting system. It analyzes all of your transactions. Then it says, you need to plant this many native trees each month to mitigate your carbon. Here's the cost. Put your credit card in. And then it gives you all your marketing materials. Every invoice tells your customers out of, like, how many native trees you're planting to offset their income. Like, it's crazy. So really cool. That just came up in the last few days and I was like, that's awesome. So another way, but yeah. There's a long answer to it, but I think there's a lot of ways, and it's just going to be something that you can sustain. So make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it affordable and sustainable, because impact, no matter where you are, environmental or otherwise, comes from the long-term consistent effort, not from a one-off burst of, oh, let's do something passionately, then forget about it.
Where do you see your charity in the next 5 years? Like, what excites you, and what's your vision for it?
In New Zealand, and I imagine it's probably the same in Australia, but I don't know for sure, we don't have good ecological literacy. We've lost connection with nature. We've lost connection with the biodiversity around, and, like, the people helping nature and the people, everyone else living their lives, are speaking like two different languages, and I've got my foot in both camps. So I'd like to make conservation and helping nature and us as individuals reconnecting with the wild mainstream. I don't think it should be a fringe thing for greenies on the side to do. I think we should all have a connection with nature. We should all feel the awe and inspiration of, swimming in these coral reefs, or seeing wildlife in the forest, and having that connection with the wild gives us the resolve and the determination to help the wild. And then from that, people helping nature should be a normal part of our life. And it should be like, we banned single-use plastic bags from supermarkets 10 years ago, and at the time everyone complained, and now it's like the idea of having a single-use plastic bag seems so ridiculous. And I'd like to think that in 5, 10, 15 years, the idea of not helping nature and not connecting with nature seems ridiculous.
Wow, that's beautiful. I like that. Do you have any books or mentors that have really inspired you on your journey?
So many.
Give us the top three.
Top three. Growing up, Richard Branson. He's got some really cool books, really cool wisdoms. David Attenborough. He's a more recent one, but man, he's got a cool story. My personal business mentor, Bernie Hamvey. He's just a local guy that's built some companies, and he's been giving his time to help. He was actually the guy who did Improve Your Business, the newsletter, with me. He took over it. But he's just been so generous with his time and help. How about you? Who's inspired you? Who helps you on your journey, Linda?
Oh, I love reading books as well, but I'm fascinated about learning about different topics, whether that be about mindset or whether that be about entrepreneur. But I just started to read The Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and gosh, it's one of those books that you just can't put down. Haven't finished it yet, but I know if I start, because I usually read before bed, I was up for hours just reading and reading that book. It was just so inspiring. No, I love, there's one huge person that's changed my mindset about business, and that was the Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, and I've signed up to his newsletter too. He's really inspiring. Like the concepts he breaks down in business is great. But on the other aspect, I'm also into the spiritual and like the mindset and learning about that. So it depends on what, like manifestation, Abraham Hicks. So I'm multifaceted, and I just like learning so many different topics. But yeah, there's so many books I want to read.
If you're into, like,
yeah, what about you?
You've probably taken the red pill deep as like I have, but a book that changed my life completely was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. If you've been in the spirituality space, it seems a bit basic, but if you haven't done it, like just breaking down like you attract what's around you into super simple terms. Probably read it like close to 10 times. I still read it most days. Just like open it to find a quote, and I'm like, oh, I needed that quote. Okay, close it up. But yeah,
I've got her cards too. I bought her cards. Oh, yeah, Abraham Hicks is fantastic. Rhonda, like the one that wrote The Secret, Rhonda Byrne. Yeah, like she's got these cards as well, and they're really good because they have all these quotes. I gave it to somebody as a gift, but I bought myself one as well. And it's just, if you like her quotes, they're all like in a box of cards. It's awesome, especially when you need that inspiration or that boost. So that's awesome.
That. I might get the cards and just like as I'm going around, like order a coffee, and I'm like, here's your tip. Take this inspiration.
Yes, actually, that's a great idea. Giving that to the world. This has been an awesome conversation. Is there any final key message you'd like to leave our audience with?
Going to do a shameless plug for our charity, Conservation Amplified. We have a podcast called People Helping Nature, where we tell the stories of people that are helping nature to make conservation mainstream. It's really fun chats. We have fun with leaders and people, for everything from like someone running a nationwide charity to save kiwi, to people that are investigating dead whales to understand why the whale was beaching, to like hunters that are like saving species while hunting deer, like all this kind of stuff. So if that's what you're into, check that out. But if you're a business doing content marketing, what I'd say is just take a step forward. You can always get better. Even the best in the world have heaps of room to improve, and so just start. And one last bit of advice, I was coaching a lady this morning, and I said to her, one thing that a lot of marketers forget about, but if you can incorporate this into everything you do, you'll be good. It's just be empathetic. If you're going to put out a piece of content, ask from every angle, what would my customer think? How would they feel? What would this mean to them? If you're thinking about building a new product or service, or posting on a channel, or asking for a sale or not asking for a sale, or whatever it is, just ask, like, who's my customer? Where are they at? Where are they at in their buying journey? What do they expect from me? What do they need? What would they think? And that is a skill that's developed over time. And it's not just marketing. It's all aspects of life, including personal relationships. But the more you can invest into building the skill of just asking what would they think, why would they care, how would they feel about me if I do this, the better marketer you'll be and better content you'll produce.
I love it. Like, very good tips and information there too. And, you've raised my awareness about the conservation, because we tend to forget how beautiful nature is as well. And when you mentioned like swimming in the Great Barrier Reef, for example, that's not going to be there if we don't look after our environment. So it wasn't a top, like, podcast is a lot of business, but I also love spirituality, and, and I think nature is crucial to that as well. And if we want to have a sustainable future, then we definitely got to make sure that we look after it as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time as well.
Oh, thanks, Linda. It's been such a pleasure. Really appreciate the chance to talk with you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's been a lot of fun. So cheers.
Thank you.